Howdy, welcome to Smashville. My name is Andy Green.
And my name is James McVey. We're back like a rash on the smash. I missed you, Andy.
Sure
How you doing, man?
I missed you too, man. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We've had scorching hot weather in the UK, and in typical Brit fashion, I'm already moaning about it wanting the winter. So what's it like down under for you?
We had a pretty cold period. We're in the middle of winter, so low single digits, or should say low teens and high single digits. But today was all right. wasn't too wet, wasn't too miserable. But it's not a heat wave like you're experiencing.
I always thought, I don't know if like people listening will agree with this. I always presumed that you're in Melbourne, aren't you? And I always thought that it was always hot in Melbourne, even when it's winter. But it's not. I went there one summer, as in UK summer, I went to Australia thinking, it's going to be amazing. I won't bother packing any jumpers. And it was freezing. So there you go. Who would have thought?
Well, now you know. You know where it is warm, though?
Where?
Nashville, all year round.
Whee! It is. And I'm super, super excited for our guest today. So the girl that we have on today, I met in, I think, the first lockdown. We did a Zoom writing session, and we didn't really know who we were writing for. We just kind of did a song, and it worked out pretty well, so well that we are now friends, and that's why she's coming on the podcast today.
And who is she, James?
So we have Alyssa Bonagura on today, and I'm really excited to delve into how she got into music, her famous parents, how they influenced her songwriting, and new music, because she does have a song coming out really soon, doesn't she?
Yeah, so she was in a country duo with Rod Stewart, who's Rod Stewart's daughter, which is pretty cool. And they spent 5 years together, I believe. I think it was called the Sisterhood band. But yeah, she's done some amazing things in her kind of songwriting career. And especially supporting vocals and as the country duo. Now she's sort of stepping out on her own, which I think is quite exciting. But, we talked to Alyssa about, working with Rick Springfield, Stevie Tyler from Aerosmith, Jessie James Decker, Patrick Droney, our guy, which is pretty amazing as well. Even Morgan Evans. So she's done some crazy stuff.
Just to name a few. She's she's definitely on the scene in country music. And take it from me, she's an absolute pleasure to work with in that songwriting environment. So let's share her with you guys at home. Let's jump into it.
James, joining us today is a celebrated songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist. Alyssa Bonagura has spent the past decade fine-tuning a sound that reaches far beyond her Nashville roots. It's a sound that blurs the boundaries between genres, mixing the southern storytelling of country music, the free-thinking spirit of rock and roll, and the cinematic sweep of Britpop into its own hybrid. Welcome to the show, Alyssa.
Thank you.
There we go. That was going to be my first question, actually, whether it's Bonagura or Bonagura or something else. I've heard a few different videos online because I didn't want to get it wrong. And you don't seem to say your own name many times. I saw like Steven Tyler say something on stage, and I was like, what did he say?
Bonagura.
Bonagura.
It's just like Bonagura, which however you like. But I've gotten everything from Bonguero to Bonaruga. That was a good one.
That sounds like a water park in Mexico, doesn't it? What you just said then. Yeah.
Yes, it does actually. It was really funny. Like one time I was in Franklin playing the Franklin Theater here in town, and the guy was like, "And now Alyssa Bonagura," and I just died on stage. I thought it was so funny. But it's Italian. My parents are both from New Jersey, and so they moved down to Nashville when they were trying to get a record deal, and they had to kind of tell people their last name. So actually my dad ended up changing his last name for a while as a songwriter. He went by Michael Brook because no one could say Bonagura. But I do have to say that I lived in England for like 3 years, and everybody got my name right there.
Yeah. Well,
I
think
guys really well.
Well, we'll talk about your stint in Liverpool later on. You sound like Andy from Lawson. Right, but you know what? You mentioned your parents, and that's I kind of did want to, in cliche fashion, start in the beginning. So for maybe some of our audience in the UK whose first kind of toed up into country was our first episode with Seaforth, why don't you sort of tell us how it all began for you?
Yeah. Oh my God, I love Seaforth, by the way. Those are my boys. We were both signed to Sony the last couple
Ah,
years.
amazing.
Anyway, yeah, in the beginning, I was pretty much conceived on a tour bus. My parents were in a band called Bailey and the Boys
Mm.
on
Hmm.
RCA Records in the late 80s, early 90s. And so, my mom actually tried to get pregnant for like 6 years, and she like couldn't, she figured she couldn't have kids. And
Wow.
then here I
You're a
am.
miracle.
So it was really an amazing upbringing. My parents had like a top 10 hit on the road when I was born. So she was just like, all right, I'll just take the baby on the road with me and we'll figure it out. And that's how I grew up, waking up in a different city every morning and learning how to adapt very
Mm.
quickly. But I've always wanted to make music. I think it's probably because it's what was, what I was surrounded by growing up. I mean, living on a tour bus is, as you know, James, it's
Mm.
like fun, it's fun, but like as a child it's like even more fun because it's like a big playground, and then you annoy all the guys on the bus because like but yeah, that's how I was raised, and I kind of just wanted to be like my parents. I thought they were so cool, and I started singing when I was like 2 and asked my mom if I could go out and do a show with her on stage at this. It was called the Big E Festival. It was like in front of like 20,000 people at this country festival, and I sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Wow. If we had a festival in the UK called the Big E Festival, it would definitely be about something else, and it would be sort of like dance music, and which is,
Electronic.
is, is
Yeah,
is it's another kind of show.
yeah, yeah.
It's interesting that you kind of effectively grew up on a tour bus, and I think that you're extremely lucky because for me, going out on the road is obviously amazing and I love it, but
Mm,
I really have like a gut wrenching pull back home every so often to Kirsty,
mm,
Moochie the dog, my parents. But for
yeah.
you maybe do you even have that sort of homesick feeling when you're on a tour bus now? Because I guess you grew up being on a tour bus with, your loved ones. I mean, you were so lucky to have that.
I was so lucky, and yeah, it's a strange thing being away and missing people back home. I had a lot of that in the last 5 years when I was on the
Mm,
road with Sisterhood band, where it was just like I never got to see my parents. But because when I was a kid we were all together, it was such a blessing
mm,
to have each other. And I kind of hope that when it's time for me to have children, at least the person that I'm with, hopefully he can come on the road with me, because I think that's a really important part. About just, I don't know, I mean, like, especially like, yeah, it's super super hard being away from people for a very long time. So I was very lucky.
mm.
As a kid, it would have been pretty interesting as as an upbringing, right? Sort of always constantly moving around, and I imagine you probably didn't have the same
Yeah.
friends that we did. Going to school for the same period of time. Was there any sort of fun babysitters that you had along the way, or any mischief that you got up to
Oh
as
my
a
God.
as a kid?
Yes, I actually had a babysitter. Her name was Gina. She was super young, and she was almost like my sister on the road. And she was so fun and like taught me all the things about arts and crafts. And I'm like super artistic. I grew up dancing as well, and painting and acting and everything. It's just all the things that I love doing. And so I was really grateful that we had Gina. But like the thing in country music, and this is I think a different vibe for other genres, but in country music they call it the weekend warrior tours, because you really just go out Thursday to Sunday,
Uh-huh.
and so you have, or Friday to Sunday, and so then you're back Monday and you can have the whole week at home. So
Mm,
I actually I went to normal school. I went to elementary school, middle school, and I wasn't homeschooled or anything, but my teachers kind of knew what was up, and they'd be like, okay, she's probably going to miss Friday. And I'd go out with my parents and then come back. And unfortunately, that did not make me very popular with the other kids in school.
mm,
So I really struggled with maintaining some close friends. I had like 2 really, really close friends in high school that are still friends of mine to this day.
mm,
And obviously, like, but it's just kind of weird, I think, when you're the weird outcast that like goes on the road. And that's what made me start writing songs, because I felt really alone in that aspect. And so I kind of just leaned on writing about it and channeling it into something rather than being sad about it.
mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess I have well, not similar because I wasn't a child when I did the band, but I very much was doing that Friday to Sunday night, getting the train
Yeah.
to the lead singer's house, writing songs, coming back, and then going to school, and it almost felt like for me almost overnight, I went from not really having many friends to then all of a sudden people were interested. They're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And it's like, so it must have been difficult for you at that young age to have a lot of attention, perhaps on you and your family, and what they do quite public at that age, because
Mm.
when you're, I don't know, when you're like, well, from ages 6 to probably 20, those formative years are so confusing and daunting and weird for
Yeah.
everyone, regardless of their background. But for you, did you feel that it was perhaps difficult to mature when you were, well, when you and your family were in a spotlight, unlike other people?
Yeah, what's funny, James, is that like nothing was like weird to me because it's just how I grew up. So it was like my friends became like these, older people because that's who I was surrounded by. I was with all the people in my parents' band, which became like my brothers. And then, there was like, we were on tour with Vince Gill. And so I called him Uncle Vinny. And we were on tour with, like Kenny Rogers. And I ended up
Mm,
singing with Kenny when I was like 10. And so I had this strange life of like, this is my normalcy. And
mm,
then when the fear starts coming into you and you start, kids start making fun of you, or you go and you kind of like start to see who your parents actually are. It didn't really happen till like later, you know what I mean? Because like
mm,
as a kid, you're just kind of like, this is fun. I'm backstage at an arena and I'm like, like I don't know, like skateboarding on one of the road cases with wheels, like that was like my playground. So for me, it was just kind of normal. But yeah, you start to kind of realize what it is when others kind of start seeing you for what it is, and then either making fun of you for it or coming up to you and being like, "Oh my God, I love your parents' music," or whatever. Like
mm.
we would go out. It was really funny. My mom always used to get really mad at me because if we had time off, like in Nashville or whatever, I'd be like, "Mom, let's go shopping. Let's go to like, I don't know, let's go do something fun. Let's
Mm.
go to Starbucks or something." And we'd go, and she'd be like, "Well, I'm not even dressed, like I'm in my sweats or my overalls or something." And I'd be like, "Come on, it's like no one's gonna recognize you."
Mm.
And every time we went out, someone would recognize her and they'd be like, "Oh my God, Kathy Bailey, I love your music." And she's like, "See,
Oh well, I
should have done
I
my makeup."
but I love my parents, but it's quite common for parents to perhaps not be the coolest people, in inverted commas, around in your life. And perhaps there's a sense of embarrassment when you're growing up as a teenager. You're like, "Oh God, Dad, don't do that."
Yeah, yeah.
How is that for you when your parents were definitely cool? I can't imagine what it must be like to have parents that,
And knowing what they
were
do as
cooler than
well.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, was that weird, or do you still see your dad sometimes as a little bit like cheesy, embarrassing, and uncool?
Oh, dude, I mean, all the time. It's like totally normal, I think, for everybody to feel that way. But I feel like because I didn't have brothers and sisters growing up, since I was an only child, my parents really became like my best friends.
Mm,
And so for us, I've just been very, very blessed with that on earth with having them around me and being fun. Like my mom is so much fun, my dad is so much fun, and like me and my dad we started creating a recording studio upstairs in my attic when I was in high school because I was really into recording, and they've just been the pillars of my life, and I'm just so grateful. And I actually live in Franklin. I live with my parents since the pandemic. I moved back
mm.
home, and it's been so awesome. They live out on like 6 acres out here in the
Wow.
countryside, and we have our studio, and so we've just been creating music. And of course, like it's family, so we're always gonna like have our things, but yeah, I'm really, really grateful to have
Mm,
them because without them, I really don't know what I would have done. And they've been so supportive of me. And, my parents actually didn't want me to get into the music business. I think because they were worried that it was going to like wreck me, kind of like, it's really up and down,
Yeah.
yeah.
some days you're in, some days you're out,
Fickle.
so yeah, it's so fickle. And so my dad was like, "You know what? If you want to learn how to play guitar, you have to learn yourself. And
Mm,
I'm not going to teach you." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because you really got to want it. Like this is tough business." And so they kind of left guitars around, and I just, being the person that I am, like, well, fine, watch me, you know. So I would just like pick them up and try and play them, and that's kind of when I turned to like Dashboard Confessional. I was listening to a lot of Dashboard at the time, and I open tune my guitars. And Joni Mitchell does a lot of open tuning guitars, and so I learned how to get like the right hand rhythm down, and then finally my dad started teaching me chords. But that's kind of what started my own little sound of like how I play, and I play all by ear. I can't read music, so I just kind of
Figure it
do
out.
things that way. Yeah.
Amazing. Before we get into music, I have a quick question, because you sort of mentioned something. You're an only child with parents with, you know, millions of fans. I'm one of 4, so I grew up kind of competing for my parents' attention with siblings. Did you ever feel that you kind of would go out and compete with, you know, complete strangers for your parents' attentions? Or what was that like as a kid?
Oh, no, never felt like that. I think it was more like just wanting to be liked in school. I think
Yeah.
that was maybe the tough thing, because I just wanted to have friends, and people would be like, "Oh, go write a song, Alyssa." Or like, there was this girl one time, I was passing out flyers in school for a show. My mom was always like, you got to promote your stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to promote my show, Mom. She's like, that's what you have to do. Like, if you want to do this, you got to do it.
Yeah.
And so, I'd go to school with like my posters, and I was like handing them out. And this one girl came up to me and she's like, "Hey, Alyssa, what are you passing out?" And I was like, "Oh, these are just posters for my show. I'm playing Starbucks on Saturday or something. And she was like, "I'll help you pass them out." And I was like, "Really?" And this girl was really popular in school. And so I thought that was like really kind of her. I was like, how cool, like this girl's going to like pass them out. And she took them, and there was a trash can next to me, and she literally threw them in the trash can, laughed at me, and then walked away. And I was just like, wow, this, like, people are so mean.
A real life troll.
Be so mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like high school. Like, if you've seen Mean Girls, like that exists, So a lot of my friends were guys too growing up, because it was just, guys were less drama. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. I had one like bestie girlfriend who's still my best friend to this day. Her name's Alexa. Shout out. She's awesome. But
hey, Alexa.
You find those people in your tribe. Yeah. Hey, Alexa. But yeah, so I guess just like not fighting for attention, but really just fighting to really just have friends,
Yeah. And so I have this image of you like age 6 writing songs, and then I have an image of like your parents looking, thinking like, oh, this she's 6. It's not the best song in the world, but she's our daughter. Like, so
like the artwork.
Did you ever did you ever have a moment? Because like my parents weren't particularly musical. I don't really know where I got it from, but I kind of I pay money to see, because they are obviously incredible musicians, songwriters, performers. Were there ever any moments that you think that they bit their tongue and thought, let's just be parents as opposed to musicians, and just like, oh, darling, that's just swell. That song's so lovely.
Yeah.
But it was like, you're 6 years old. Like, do you think they ever struggled with that like musician parent relationship with you?
Totally. I mean, my dad, at one point, I was trying to solo one time. I don't think he remembers this, but I told him recently, and he felt really bad about it. But I was like, Dad, I really want to learn how to solo, and I can't solo. I can play the shit out of a rhythm guitar, but like, unless it's like really open tuned, and I can, figure out a solo that way, but I can't shred like that.
Yeah.
But I tried once, and he was like, "It sounds like a bad horn solo." And I was like, damn it. And so honestly, it was just like, it was hard sometimes to go through that. But that was great, because if they were telling me all the time that I was amazing, I never would have gotten better, And so it was really helpful having parents who were songwriters and musicians, because they would help me. And like, they still to this day, they'll come up and like listen to a song I'm writing if I'm in my little space here, and they'll be like, "Oh, what did you do in that second verse? It might be cooler if you said this," or and they've had so many hits that you're like, you know what, you gotta listen to them, So
Shut up, Mom.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah, okay, Mom. I was gonna go there. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah.
Still went out.
Yeah. So it was really fun.
Well, it sounds like you made some really kind of cool friends on the road. One of them, Kenny Rogers, who you mentioned. How did you end up recording a duet with Ken?
He asked me, actually. He was doing a Christmas from the Heart like play that he had created, and he wanted someone to like play the angel, and so he called me to sing on the record to do this duet, and it's still out there if anybody wants to
Wow.
listen to it.
We'll link it up.
It's like 10-year-old Alyssa. Yeah. And it was one of the coolest moments of my life. I can remember it to a T. I walked into the studio, and he was always so nice, and it was really fun. And then I tried out actually for the Broadway musical, but they told me I was too
Oh
tall,
wow.
so it's just me singing on the
My
record. Yeah.
I was once in a nativity. No, it wasn't nativity. I was in the Noah's Ark production at school, and I thought I was like,
Really?
yeah, I was like, let's
Cute.
go. I mean, I was only like 5, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get a really, really good part. Amazing, amazing. And it transpired that I was one of the tigers, you know, because it all come like 2 by 2, and I was a tiger. I was like, no lines. To make matters worse, there was slim pickings in the uniform and costume department, so I ended up wearing a bear costume, even though I was meant to be a tiger, and it was
Oh
absolutely
no!
boiling. So you did better than I did, Alyssa.
Well,
I bet that was so cute though.
Well,
at least you didn't
yeah,
play
I
a
was so
tree
hot.
like 5-year-old Andy just in the breeze, just swaying. Like
You played a tree,
I
Andy?
was a tree. Yeah, that's when you know that they're scraping the barrel. What's this kid good for? I was
Hey, man,
I was pretty
trees are
portly.
just as important.
Yeah. I had solid foundations as a kid, so a
Right, back
thick
to the
trunk.
music. Come on.
You brought that
So-
into your now life too. Solid foundations because you were a tree.
Yeah,
is it on your Wikipedia page, Andy?
yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. So Alyssa, one thing that I feel like I knew quite a lot about you because obviously we're mates, but one
Yeah.
thing that I am realizing more with every sort of question we ask you is your openness to collaboration and working with other people, whether that's your parents or people you meet on tour. So just quickly, you were in the Sisterhood band. Sort of how was that dynamic working with? Because like we mentioned with Seaforth that I was quite interested, sort of, I guess, on the outside, why there are so many duos in country.
Yeah.
So talk to us quickly just about the Sisterhood band.
Yeah, it was so much fun. We had about a 5-year run together as a band, and we toured the world. We played Australia, Andy.
G'day.
We were over there in Australia. We played, actually, that was our first big show was at CMC Australia, and
Wow.
Rob Potts, rest his soul, he was a big promoter there, and heard us play in Nashville and was like, hey, we've got an open slot there. And do you want to come and play it? And I was like, yes, are you kidding me? So we actually wrote songs for that show because we'd only written 5 songs together. And and that was our big debut. So we flew over to Australia and did that, and then the rest was history. But we met through mutual friends, honestly, randomly we met, and just became really good friends, and both kind of leaned on each other about, and shared our experience about England because I lived over there, and then also being the kid of a famous parent. Obviously her dad is a lot more famous than my parents, and it's a totally different thing. But it was very similar in the way that we both grew up on the road. I just grew up on a bus and she grew up on a jet. So it's kind of, it's kind of that was the difference. But it was so much fun for me because before that I had done a lot of acoustic folk music. And then I really got to play electric guitar in this band, and it was almost like my alter ego a little bit. And I was, producing the record with her and on Sony Records, and we got, picked up by a major label, and it was amazing. It was a really, really amazing experience.
And you, so also, I love the fact, and again, this is typical of what I know of Nashville, I think, but songwriting is kind of it's like a parallel line with I don't know, like popularity almost, like they're both integral, right? You have to, like, people live and breathe music in Nashville. So would you, from the off, actually, let's clarify this. Would you say that you are more of a songwriter or an artist, or is that just an impossible question?
That's so funny. You're the second person that's asked me that question, and I wonder like how to answer it, because I think I'm an artist.
Yep.
And I've changed it now, because first when the person asked me, I said songwriter, but now I've changed it back to artist. And I'll tell you why. I think when you're an artist, you're able to do your own thing and create your own music. Um, but you're also able to write from a place of, well, see, I don't know now. Sorry, now I'm going back and forth in my head, and I'm like, maybe it's actually, maybe I don't know, because I've written a lot of songs for other people. I've been so grateful to have those opportunities. Like I've worked with Jessie James Decker and Steven Tyler, and it's just been so insanely awesome to work with people like that. And when I'm a songwriter with them, I have to put on a different hat. I put on the hat of, okay, how can I make them shine in this scenario, and what's their story? How can I help them with their story? And when I'm an artist, I'm talking about my story, however, a lot of my songs that I've written as an artist have been cut by other artists as well, because they've related to it as their story. So that's why I think I'm an artist, if that can encompass both of them.
I think there's an art to songwriting, like honestly, and and there's a beauty to well written songs, poems, which is a form of art, which sort of leads to the sort of next question that we had. We're very big fans of Patrick Droney, who you were pretty involved with his new album, State of the Heart, which I think you did some backing vocals, but you also wrote a few songs. This is one of James and I's favorite albums, and we sort of, I think we probably went through a phase of listening to it every single day for weeks.
I think, right, I'm saying right now, whenever Pat, I don't know what show we'd meet up at, Andy, but say Nashville's maybe halfway, when he does a show there that we can get to, I will be that guy sat outside the hotel.
Yeah.
And even though we're mates, I'm like, no, Pat.
Yeah.
No, I'm sitting outside this thing. I will try and get in your bedroom. I will call your phone, and I love you. And I think Andy would be there with me.
You have a really cute romance.
I'll take the night shift. Yeah, but it's something that I noticed about that whole album was how cohesive it was and how well written the lyrics were. And like, we went through this phase of just and maybe it's the, James and I are similar ages and sort of at, points in our life where it really resonated with us. But the lyrics on that album, and I'd love to hear sort of your involvement, because I know you wrote Glitter, which is just a beautiful song, or co-wrote Glitter, I should say. But the lyrics are just amazing.
Yes. Well, I actually did not write any of the songs on that album. I only sang. No, it's okay. I just want to make sure that that's known, because I am just a humble fan of Patrick's and his work. And he wrote all those songs with, other co-writers, but he called me during the pandemic when he was making his record. And he said, Alyssa, I have this song called Glitter, and I would really love for you to put your magic on it. Can I send it to you, and you can maybe just, I don't know, think of whatever you want to do to it. And so my favorite thing to do is layer harmonies. I've always been into that kind of stuff. And that's really from my mom and dad. They were a harmony group, so learning how to sing all harmonies and stuff. And so I kind of just went with it, and I just layered a crap ton of vocals and then sent it to him. And I thought he was only going to use like maybe one or two, but he ended up using the whole thing. And it was so much fun. But we've written a lot. I think we've written 2 songs together. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, 2 songs together. He's amazing, and I'm just a humble fan. And he got me to sing on River that he co-wrote with someone else. And then When the Lights Go Out, I sang on that one. And the one Call Me On Your Way Home. Call Me On Your Way Home. I sang like 5 songs on the album. I sang on the whole album pretty much. But I'm just so grateful he asked me, and he's got a heart of gold, that guy. And I think he's one of our best artists of our time. I really do. I think he's fantastic.
Well, James and I got to the point where we were just like the lyrics are so touching, and I think this is why it comes back to the point around it's poetic, because like we got like pat tattoos of like different sections of the lyrics. And it was sort of this like independent thing. We both had the idea, and we're like, do we do this? Like, this is like the ultimate fanboy move.
I love it.
And we did it.
It's kind of like, but that's what I think makes a great artist, is someone like Patrick can write songs like that, and then the lyrics stand the test of time. So much so that you can get them tattooed on your arm, and for every scenario you go through in your life, you look at that lyric and you're like, yeah, that stands up, So I think that just shows what a great artist he
Well,
is. But yeah, I'm glad you like the vocals and
you
stuff
sound
on the
amazing,
record.
but actually,
Yeah,
like
fantastic.
you have those qualities too, Alyssa, as a songwriter. You know, there's a song that
Oh my God, thanks.
Andy, well, we've
It's
not got
really
a version
nice.
of this song yet, but so I'll send you when we do, and people
I'll
listening.
send it
But
to you.
yeah, we wrote a song a few
Ooh.
months ago that will be released at some point.
Yes!
And you know, like Alyssa kind of wrote the majority of the chorus, and it's like, and it hits like Patrick Droney, so don't you worry
Wow.
about that.
Oh, I did.
Alyssa,
It was pretty
don't.
even, mate. It was even. I know it was that you came in with the first verse, and it was so great. James is awesome, and James has a love for country music, which I really love that about you.
Same.
And it's fun to talk to someone who is not from Nashville, that's from the UK, and like loves country music, because I do think that there's this really cool wave of country happening there. And I'm actually I get to come back, and I'm not sure when this podcast is going to air, but I'm coming back to the UK all summer this summer, and I'm just so happy to be over there and playing some shows, hopefully, as the world opens up a little bit. And I just love it over there so much. I love it.
Yeah, and we can't wait to have you. So, but a song that you did write is "Make My Own Sunshine" with Steven Tyler. Was that completely your song, or was it a co-write?
It was 100%er me.
Ooh,
you know what's funny? You know what's funny about that song? I wrote that song when I lived in Liverpool, because it was raining all the time.
So I'm saving a whole section of this interview for Liverpool. That's why I've not alluded to it yet. So and I've got a bit of a challenge with you about Liverpool later on.
I can't wait.
But quickly before we go to that, so I watched a video today of you performing that song in Rhode Island, and that looked absolutely crazy. Like, you were so close. Like, you must have been able to feel his sweat dripping on you when you were singing that chorus. And I was getting quite excited about that. I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
But, dude, okay, this is so crazy. So I just played a show actually this Friday. My first show back solo in a long time at Third and Lindsley, this amazing venue in Nashville. And Third and Lindsley, back in 2015, they gave me like a chance, 15 and 16. They gave me a chance to start a residency there and start building my Alyssa Bonagura show. So every month I would do a thing called Alyssa and Friends, and I would bring up really talented artists, friends of mine that I just thought were awesome. And on my 27th birthday, Steven Tyler showed up at an Alyssa and Friends show. And I had met him a couple times. He was making a record in Nashville, and I was dating Graham Whitford, whose dad is in Aerosmith, Brad Whitford. And so we were together like 5 years. He's a wonderful human being, and he's in an amazing rock and roll band called Tyler Bryant and Shakedown. And I think they're kind of big in the UK. But anyway, so we were friends. Like, I knew Steven from backstage at Aerosmith shows, and he came to the show, and he heard me sing "I Make My Own Sunshine," and he came up to me after the show backstage, and he was like, "Alyssa, you got to send me that song." And I was like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "That's like my song." And so I was like, "You got it." So I sent it to him, and then he called me from Hawaii and was like, "I just put ukulele on our song."
Oh my God.
And with the best ukulele player in Maui. And I was like, "This is amazing." And so that changed my whole life, and we became really good friends through that. And yeah, I mean, just he invited me to come up and sing in Rhode Island. We happened to be in Boston at the time, and for something else I was doing, and he was like, come sing it with me. So I got to. That's the video you watched.
Wow. That's so amazing.
Crazy.
And it's
like, what is life?
Well, I guess I have a quick follow up to that question, because it's sort of, that's like a really organic and proactive kind of way that song came about from Stevie Tyler.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, you've got your parents, you've got the people that you met along the way, people like Kenny Rogers, and you're so well connected and you know, have this amazing network. Where and how did you sort of like, and when, I guess, did you get comfortable sort of tapping people on the shoulder and sort of like leveraging that to kind of make music and to like make these collaborations?
You know, I've never really been the kind of person that like ever wants to go, you know, ask someone to go out of their way to do something, you know, but my parents have always, you know, just said, hey, if there's a gig, do it. Like if there's a show, do it. If there's a collaboration, do it. If someone asks you to write a song, do it. Like you never know what comes from it. And while I'm on earth, I have to use this talent I've been given, I'm so grateful I've been given the talent of music. And so however I can use my voice is how I want to use it. And, I think that connections and are awesome, but friendships are really what I care about. Like I don't, I love getting to know someone, like, especially James and I, like we met like a couple months ago, James, when we wrote that song together. And Joel from Lawson, I'm friends with those guys. Like they kind of put it together, and it was so fun to just get to know James and like write the song and then like actually become friends after that, because we just have a lot in common, And the thing is that like that to me is what it's all about. And just, if the music comes from that, awesome. But like if not, like at least we left as friends and I've got a new friend. You know what I mean? That's really what it's about for me.
Like I personally, I've been doing sort of sessions, quite a bit of Nashville things over the last like year, and look, I love the pop world and the UK scene, and there's some brilliant people in it. But I have to say, maybe it's all superficial and everyone's actually a knob. But from what I've experienced, everyone has been, I've made friendships after every single session I've done in Nashville. And then in contrast, there's been times in London where I've walked into a room, we've kind of struggled with a song, and I've, neither of us have spoken again since. It just didn't gel. But there's something about I think there's like a mutual love or like adulation for music and songwriting in Nashville, and I think that's why it's so fascinating, and that's kind of what we're trying to share with our listeners, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah.
And carrying on that love and passion for music, I have a question that's a bit obscure, and I'd love a little bit of background information on this. Talk to me about the Hippies and Gypsies guitar, because you didn't say actually what it was when I watched an interview of you today. So give the listeners that story in a minute.
Oh, my Hippies and Gypsies guitar. Okay.
Go on.
So I was driving out with my parents to Montana. We had a show out there. Actually, like really close to where John Mayer lives. So I was really excited because I'm such a John Mayer fan. Yeah. Anyway, we were driving out to Montana. It takes 2 days to drive there from Nashville.
Wow.
So we stopped over a couple times, but my parents are crazy. They just like drive through, they take turns, and then we sleep for a couple hours and keep driving. So we pulled over in South Dakota to get some gas and some water and stuff like that. And my dad is like the pawn shop king. Like he loves finding pawn shop guitars. It's really funny. Yeah. And he was like, oh my God, there's a pawn shop. We got to go in it. You never know what we're going to find. And I was like, okay, Dad, can we just get to Montana? Like we're all really tired. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, I've got a good feeling about this. And so we walk into this pawn shop, and there's a Martin hanging on the wall, like way high up in this pawn shop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, can I play that? And Dad's like, see, I told you we could find a guitar here. And so we bring down this guitar. Turns out it was an all original 1963 0018 Martin that had been hanging up on the wall for like 3 years. It's like they were like, no one asked me to you're like the first person that's asked me to play this guitar in 3 years. And I was like, are you serious? Because it was like in the middle of nowhere in like South Dakota,
Did you play Stairway to Heaven when you pulled it down?
Well, yeah, exactly. I should have, right? I can't remember what I played, but I do remember playing like a song for him. And then I saw him like kind of tear up a little bit. And he looked at me and he was like, that's like the most music that's ever been in this store. And he was like, you need to have this guitar. And I was like, I can't afford this guitar, and he's like, well, what do you have? And I was like, I think I had like $1,000 in my savings account. And I told him that's all I had. And he's like, okay. And he let me take the guitar for $1,000.
I mean, that guitar like is probably worth triple that, but you should have said 250. I've got like 250. You could have a steal.
Just flip it. Yeah, just take advantage of this nice guy.
Wow.
I was too honest, man. I was too honest. But that's the story of the guitar. So I wrote a song with Jeffrey Steele and my friend Davis Nash. And we all wrote a song about that pawn shop guitar called Hippies and Gypsies. And it's not out anywhere. It's only on YouTube. But
you should send it to the guy. If you can find that, if the store's still open, you should send him that song, because he clearly likes music. And
yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's so
that'd be
cool.
lovely.
You found that story. I love that. Was fun to share.
I'm a big fan. I'm a
We
big
dig
fan.
deep. Yeah, we go deep. Alyssa, it's 2021. We've talked a lot about your past, your background, how you got into music, some of the projects from your past, but you are having, you've got a new single coming out. You've got new music coming out. We listen to New Wings. Tell us what's going on there. Tell us about your new track.
Yeah. So New Wings is out July 2nd. And I'm very, very, very proud and excited to release it. It's been the first thing that I'll be releasing as a solo artist in 5 years, which is kind of crazy. But, you know, my journey to get back here taught me so much. And at the start of 2020, you know, the world shut down and a lot of people's lives were just turned upside down, and mine included. And my band fell apart, and you know, we kind of parted ways at the start of the year. And then I was at home with my family, and, you know, going inward for me was so wonderful, because I really hadn't taken a lot of time to do that. And, you know, when you're on the road and you're performing a lot and you're doing interviews and you're doing TV things, like you don't have time to like deal with internal stuff. And you just kind of have to put on the mask and put on the show, and the show must go on. And so I really and I'm really grateful that I had the time here to just dive into music. And so I started listening through my old catalog, and I was like, man, why did I never record, you know, put this song out? And then, you know, I was getting set up on Zoom rights, and I wrote this song. It was actually New Wings was a first time co-write with this guy, Togs Salter, who's Canadian, amazing producer, writer. And he showed up with this track, and I was like, dude, this is so beautiful. And I had just read this poem by Paulo Coelho called The Journey of the Butterfly. And it had really helped me with my healing journey, because it was talking about how this butterfly is on a cocoon, and this guy's walking in the forest, and he sees this butterfly trying to struggle out of this cocoon. And after watching it for like 5 minutes, he feels really bad. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to make this easier for the butterfly. I'm going to go get a pair of scissors and cut open the cocoon, and hopefully he can just fly out and he doesn't have to struggle anymore. And unfortunately, he cuts open the cocoon, and the butterfly falls flat to the ground and isn't able to use its wings at all because they were underdeveloped. And the whole point of the poem and the story is that the struggle and the trials and tribulations that we go through in our life are absolutely necessary for the growth and the use of our new wings. And it happens in nature all the time, and it happens in life. You know, it's nature and humans are actually so connected. And so that really struck home for me. And to me, 2020 was like my cocoon year of struggling. And that song is all about going forward and accepting change and realizing that maybe the change is actually where you're supposed to be, and just kind of stepping into that so you can spread your wings and fly.
I mean, that's why you're a songwriter. Here's me trying to come up with concepts like, oh, I wonder what happens if like I cheat on Kirsty, or if like the dog dies. You're doing something about walking through a forest and a poem and a nice cocoon, and it's symbolic of life. And I'm here like clutching at straws thinking, fuck, how do I write a hit?
Oh, it's devastation in my life. What can I do? The music.
That's beautiful, though. That's beautiful. So, I mean, we really look forward to that coming out. I've heard it.
It's a stunning song.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Can't wait. And actually, you've got some other ones that you showed me. Who knows if they're ever going to see the light of day? But
they will. They're all coming out. Yeah. Actually, brilliant. Like I'm basically, didn't realize through that whole time that I really had created an album, and so I'm working on probably releasing the album in 2022 and just releasing songs up until that point.
Amazing.
So yeah,
can't wait. So I've got. I just want to quickly dive into Liverpool. You know,
Liverpool,
just before
I'm
my mum and my mum's side of the family are from Liverpool, so I feel like it's close to home.
That's my other home, James.
You spent was it 3 years that you spent? You were studying music, weren't you?
Yeah, I went to LIPA. I studied sound technology and engineering. And
wow. That's why you're so good. That's why you know when we're doing demos, you actually sound like you know what you're doing. Here's me like
definitely help James out with the audio then. Yeah.
How to use a metronome on YouTube.
That's so funny. Well, I didn't want to go to college, and I found out about this place because I've been obsessed with the Beatles since I was born. My parents were obsessed with the Beatles, and And so anyway, I found out that Paul McCartney had a college, and it was the only place I applied. And I told myself if I got in, I would do school full time, and if I didn't, I would do music full time. And I got in. So it changed my life forever. Well. It was the best 3 years of my life, honestly. It really was.
I absolutely love Liverpool. Like, trust me, I do. But like, I can imagine, like, maybe before you'd ever been there, the romanticized like pictures in your mind of what you think's gonna happen when you get off the plane in Liverpool. And I imagine for many people it's a stark contrast when you get to Liverpool and realize it's not as lovely and glamorous as you may think.
Know, man. Maybe to someone who's from the UK, but like for someone who is from America, going to Liverpool was like amazing. Like even just like the cobblestone streets and the architecture and like, I mean, obviously the Beatles, but like Liverpool and like England, just history in general. I mean, you walk around here and it's really young. I mean, you don't have like churches that are as old as, the bombed out church in Liverpool, I mean, it's just crazy. So for me, I just loved it. And I went over like not knowing really anybody and like just dove in. And the people I met on my first day at college at Lipa are my best friends still to this day. It was a magical time, honestly. It was really cool.
I can imagine. I have an image as well of you wearing like your hat and your boots and you're walking and it's like torrential rain.
Yeehaw.
What is she wearing? Look at that girl. What's she wearing?
No, you know what's so funny you say that? Like I was actually really inspired by all of like the fashion in the UK too. Like I love it. I mean, because here people don't dress up a lot. I mean, they do, but like only for like special occasions. But like in England, it's like you go to like down the streets of London and like someone's in like
high fashion
suit, and you're like, oh, wow, where did they get that? It's like you'd never see that downtown Franklin. Like,
you're striking me as someone that tries to see the positives in every sort of like instance in life, and I love that. I've got a little quick fun thing that's kind of. So you're doing three years in the UK and obviously being American, I've got a couple of like either or, some of them may be English / American. So the first, and you have to just pick one, right?
Yeah,
So the first one is easy. So studio or tour?
Ugh. Is this like fast or to think?
Yeah, man. It's already you're already 1 point down. Tour, okay. Piano or guitar?
Piano.
Writing for yourself or writing for other people?
Ooh.
Shit.
Ooh.
Clock's ticking. That's 2 points down.
Both.
No.
It has to be both.
Okay. Here we go. This is where it gets fun. American food or English food?
English food.
American music or English music?
English music.
And the last one, American people or English people?
That's not fair. I'm going to say human beings.
Human beings.
Very diplomatic.
Where is the love?
I love a lot of the British culture though. Like to me, like having a drink in England at the pub is so different than like going out and having a drink here. It's like, it's just different. I don't know how to explain it. It's like you guys really can like enjoy a pub meal and a drink. And it's like a thing, like, you know what I mean? Here, it's like, let's get messed up.
That's possible.
Let's go out and get drunk. I mean, it's like that there too, but you know what I'm saying.
Aside from studying in Liverpool for those years, how did your time in the UK, because you're quite young, it's still university days. How did your time in the UK kind of influence the music that you're making now?
Dude, it changed everything for me. I think it really molded my music, because my favorite band of all time is, besides the Beatles, is Coldplay.
Yep.
And I really dove into their music when I was in Liverpool. And I think it's just like the melodies and the sounds and Brian Eno and like just like it was just so different for me to listen to something like that versus like Patty Griffin or Dolly Parton or Kenny Rogers, which is all incredible. But I've been influenced by all those things. So in my new music, you hear a lot of Brit pop influence. As well as country and like folk music that I grew up listening to. But yeah, I am such a fan of English music, and it's the best.
Very cool.
It's
Well, you love English music, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like Andy's coming in with like really good, interesting questions, and I'm just trying to like figure out a way of testing you on your
like it.
English
Bring it
idioms.
on.
So, okay, so we've got another one. This is the last game, I promise.
Okay.
And it's
I like games.
well, good. Me too. Mainly because I'm underqualified to actually do podcast interviews. So I think, what can I do to try and fill the space? It's an English slang test, and you're pretty good, man. Like from
Right,
when
mate.
we've been speaking. Yeah, exactly. Love that.
But like,
So
do you think I could pass as like an English person if I really tried?
Hey, you sound like someone there. Shit, who does that sound
Who is
like?
it? Do you think
You-
like if I got like cast in a film, who would I be?
You know
And
who
would
you
I
sound
actually pass?
like? Okay, yes, you would. You sound
Yes.
like, and I don't know who, but you sound like every radio station in the UK has like a team of like 3 people. There's always one girl that sounds like that. Always, always.
And now we're playing the Vamps, and it's going
Yeah.
to be very, very great, very wonderful.
Oh,
Right,
you've gone very posh. You've gone
Chelsea.
very posh.
That's really
Okay, here's something for our Smashville listeners. Who does Alyssa sound like there? If you're
There
from
we
the UK, I'm thinking of someone. I thought maybe Fern Cotton, but I don't think it is Fern Cotton. Okay, right. So you're good at the accent.
And we're
okay?
back.
Thanks.
And we're
Thanks.
back. See,
We're
professional.
back.
Professional.
Yeah.
Don't even need to edit that. Okay, so I've got how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6. I think 6
Uh-oh.
sort of things of English sayings to see if you know what they mean. Okay.
Oh,
And they're
my
all
God.
PC, Andy. Don't
Okay,
worry,
good.
Andy. They're all pretty PC. Okay,
Yeah.
so the first one is I'm knackered.
I mean, I was really tired.
Yes,
Yep.
easy, banging. That one's quite
Yeah.
hard, actually.
It
not,
is.
not many people. I'm chuffed to bits.
I'm chuffed. I'm really excited. I'm really happy.
Yeah, brilliant. Safe.
Yes. Safe, like cool.
Yes. Okay. So that's almost like that's the pendulum swing. Safe, because that's sort of like Liverpool or Midlands upwards. That's kind of like
Safe,
and then
safe.
sound.
That's sound, mate.
Oh,
Like that's really great.
Solid,
right?
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Sound,
similar. Yeah,
solid.
yeah. Boss. Hard one.
Boss, I think doesn't boss like that reminds me of Liverpool. A lot of my friends used to be like, "Oh, that's boss."
Yeah.
Like, is that like if you're really excited about something, you say like, "That's boss."
So on Google, I mean, I wanted to make sure that I was right with this, and Google says incredibly awesome, which I actually think sounds
Oh.
quite American, doesn't it? How they've described that. Incredibly awesome. That's what boss
Incredibly
means.
awesome.
And the last one, which I
Yep.
hope you know, is scran.
I don't know Scran.
Oh, I got
The one I don't know.
Andy, any ideas, mate?
Half these words, I don't know what you're saying.
Scran. Wait, like, can I guess? Can I guess?
Go on.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Yeah, use it in a sentence.
Oh, it's going to be so obvious, though.
Okay, try
You got
not
any
to.
scran?
Yeah. Got any scran left?
Cash?
No, it's food. So
I thought-
go out for some scran.
Food.
It's a bit of an older one. It's almost like, I think my mum probably said it when they still say it, but it's a bit of like an older one.
Bit of a niche
But
Liverpool
you
saying.
did really well.
Did
yeah,
I do
bit
good?
niche. You did
See?
really well,
I
and
told
that was
you I'm like half British, pretty much.
5 out of 6. And I think that there's no way that I'd get that many if it was the other way around. So okay, that Andy, over to you. That is my
Wait,
silly...
what about me? Can I ask you guys?
Oh, go on
'Cause
then.
Wait,
Go on then.
What
Why
about
not?
Australia too? We're over in Australia here.
There's quite a few.
There's quite a lot, right? I mean, that was really tough. I actually we did something like that when we were there, and I was like, I had no idea. Like, what do you call a bathing suit over there?
We got a speedo.
Oh, God.
No, yeah, but like,
We've got them.
there's another one,
Shit.
like a banana hammock.
Oh yeah,
thing.
banana
What do you
hammock.
call it?
Yeah. Budgie
Yeah.
smuggler.
But that's a budgie smuggler. Like, would you ever think that a budgie smuggler would be a
Yeah,
bathing
that's
suit?
where you smuggle your budgie. Thongs. Thongs are
Okay,
very
yeah,
different over here.
thongs,
Yeah,
but
flip-flops.
they're flip flops.
Flip flops.
Yeah.
Stubby holder.
One thing what
Stubby
is
holder.
that?
Stubby holder's
A wallet?
No, it's like a sleeve for your beer. One of those like insulated sleeves.
A koozie. We call it a koozie.
Oh,
Stubby.
yeah, koozie.
Durry.
Oh, what's that?
Durry.
A cigarette.
Sounds like
A cigarette.
Oh.
See, I don't
For
know
your
this.
smoker. That's for your smoker. A servo. There's a service station.
Servo?
Servo.
Macca's?
Wait,
You guys know what Macca's
I've
is?
I've got a little Australian accent I can do for you, but it's
Go on.
very short. It's very short-lived. Yeah, get the wallaby out of the water. Yeah. No. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that is like a reaction statement. That something has to be said first for that. You're like, yeah, get the wallaby out of the water. I love that. Is Macca's just McDonald's? Andy?
Macca's is McDonald's.
Easy.
We
mate.
what do we call Mickey D's. We call it Mickey
Mickey D's.
Yeah.
Bonza. Bonza's our
Is it good, right?
boss. Yeah, Bonza's probably our boss.
Yeah, man.
This is
Bonza.
really fun. Like it's really fun to hear the different slang words.
We have so many ridiculous ones.
Here's the one thing that I feel like nobody gets right in England when an American asks them. You say, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
And then the response is always like, "Yeah, fine. Yeah, fine. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah."
Yeah.
But really, it's like, "What's up?" "Oh, nothing, man. Like just hanging out. What have you been up to?" It's like, it's so funny. And I'll never forget it. When I was in college in Liverpool, like I'd be walking and be like, "Hey, what's up?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm good. Thanks."
Yeah. I mean, it's
so
similar to
Yeah.
us. Like when we go to America and we're like, "Oh, you're right," or we do it really quick, and like I can do it without it. Like, "You're right, right." It's almost like a one. It's like
I
a
always
"you're
thought,
right" one thing, right? Okay.
"You're right."
Yeah, but even if I say, "Oh, are you all right?"
Yeah.
People are like, "Yes."
I think.
Why would I
think
not
I'm
be?
okay. Why would
Yeah.
I not?
Why do I look ill?
Do I look ill?
Which is funny. Okay, right. Back to the music. Let's
Anyway,
do a couple more
That's fun.
questions, right?
Okay.
So, first of all, another naff question for me. But how important are hats, Alyssa? Because you wear a lot of hats. Why do you do that? Why not?
Metaphorical and
what?
physical.
That is funny that you asked me that question. Just this Friday, I played a show and I did not wear a hat.
Oh.
I wore a hat for my one song because I was like, "Where's my hat?" I wanted to wear it for Road Less Traveled because that was like the cover of the thing. But I think I've just always loved hats. I've always loved having something on my head. And maybe
Right, okay.
I've heard that that's because I'm an Aries, and because Aries are like the rams in the astrology thing, and apparently Aries like things on their heads. So I don't know.
Okay.
But my
Right,
mom used to wear hats all the time, so I think I liked it because she did too.
Amazing.
But I'm just a woman of many different hats, you know.
Yeah.
a couple different things, I guess.
So you mentioned you're traveling soon and you've just done a show, so you're in a position to kind of get back on stage and doing live music. What's your preference? And is it like a live stage band or performing solo? Which do you prefer, and which do you think makes for a better show?
Gosh, I love both of it. Both. I mean, it really depends on the venue and stuff. I mean, there's nothing like going to a small venue and seeing your favorite artist there, like by themselves. Like I think I saw where did they play? I saw Coldplay at the Palladium in Hollywood, like before the pandemic.
Wow.
And they did like a benefit, and it was so cool to see them in that setting as opposed to like their big show, which is also phenomenal. Because I saw them at a stadium, and it was just amazing. But so for me, I don't know. I like both. I do love intimate songwriter vibes where I can just be with my guitar and kind of do whatever I feel in that moment.
Yeah.
And then, but there's nothing like being on stage with people that really like are in tune with you and can just like go wherever you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So I like both. Sorry.
I spend the majority of my time on stage with people that are significantly better than me at what I'm doing, and I always think that's the key, man. You always hear these like Wolf of Wall Street people like surround yourself with people that are better than you. That's what I'm doing, and and I hope to learn. I hope to learn.
Jane, my mom and dad told me the same thing because the great thing about that is that they're your net, and then you can kind of, you all vibe off of each other, and you got a net to fall back into, which is really awesome.
Absolutely. And okay, last question about actually probably last question. Oh my god, that was amazing. Quick. What was the Opry like? Because I mean, from an outsider again, like whenever I go on YouTube and it's like Rascal Flatts live, it's like at the Opry, and that's always the one that's got the views. Can you just tell me, for someone that doesn't really know, why is that venue so iconic, and what was it like to perform in it?
Oh my god, what a great question. The Opry is legit magic. Like all of it is magic. The smell of it backstage, the wood in the pews where you sit, like it's so old and iconic. And the Opry started out as a radio show, and it still is a radio show to this day on WSM. And I mean, I can't describe to you how what the energy feels like when you go on that stage, but I'm really referencing the Ryman stage, because you go to the Ryman and like that's the original Opry, and then you go to the new Opry House, which is way cool. They've taken the circle from the stage of the Ryman and put it in their stage of the new Opry House. So I got to do my Opry debut at the Ryman, which is the original Opry, and Dude, I got to tell you, man, it was magical. I walked in and I felt like such a superstar. I was so nervous, right? But like I felt like people knew who I was already. And they were like, "Hey, Miss Bonagura, you're going to be in dressing room number 4 down the left. These flowers came for you." And I was like, "What?" I had like flowers. I had like fan mail there, and I was like crying before my show, you know?
Wow.
But there's something energetic when you walk on the stage that you really feel all the people that have performed there. I mean, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, June Carter. I mean, back in those days, you know, I mean, every country artist you can ever think of, and every pop artist has come through that stage now too. And it's just a really magical place. So I was totally nervous on my Opry debut. You can kind of hear it in my voice. I was a little shaky on stage, but
I thought it was brilliant.
Love that.
Thanks.
Brilliant.
It was amazing.
Fantastic. Well, Alyssa, thank you so much for joining James and I. It's been an absolute treat, and I think we're definitely going to have to get you back on later in the year to kind of hear how 2021 rolls out for you. We'll link up everything, and I'm sure this is going to come out around the same time as New Wings, so we'll hopefully have a link for that as well. And yeah, Alyssa Bonagura.
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 I know.
I like Bonagura.
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 Good to
I'm just kidding.
Buongiorno.
Do you know what it means? It's Italian. It used to be Bonacora, which is good heart.
It makes a lot of
Thank
sense.
you.
That makes a lot of sense
Hey,
after chatting
thanks.
to you for an hour. But yeah, we'll link
Thanks.
up your Instagram. We'll link up your website. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a delight.
I love you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks for having me. You guys are awesome, and I'm totally stoked to be on Smashville. You guys rock.
Thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
Well, James, Alyssa, this was the first time I've spoken to her, and I hope it's not the last because she is a delight. What an interesting person to talk to, and just so sweet.
I know, and I think it's really inspiring to speak to someone that has just done so much, and it seems that she just sort of ebbs and flows around challenges, and going to Liverpool for like 3 years from Nashville. Like, I don't know if I could step out of my comfort zone like that. And I'm really, really excited to hear her, I guess, proper first solo album, which I imagine is coming out relatively soon. But we do know that she has a single coming out, Andy, very, very soon, doesn't she?
Yeah, New Wings. I believe it's out on the 2nd of July, definitely the first week of July, which is quite exciting. We might have heard an early preview, and it's very, very good. And yeah, she's just committed to the trade. What a treat to have Alyssa on. So we'll link up her, socials and her single in the show notes. And guys, thank you as always for listening. If you want to support the show, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Smashville Pod. And James, leaving us 5-star reviews on iTunes helps a lot. And telling people, telling your friends, telling people that that are into country music, it all really helps us.
Absolutely. And as ever, we love to hear who you'd like for us to try and get on the podcast. Obviously, we're in the infancy episodes of the series, but I'm sure that as we book more people, then it'll get even more exciting. We're also going to start reading out some of your comments at some point. So please do make sure that you check us out at Smashville Pod on Instagram. I don't even know if we have Twitter, Andy, but
we do have Twitter.
Does anyone who uses Twitter, man? Don't worry about the Twitter. Just leave us a good review.
and be nice to our social media manager Basil on the socials as well, who's running it for us.
I thought Andy. Well, just before I go, I need to get truth from you. I thought that Basil was just like you pretending to be someone else, but is he actually a real person?
He's a real person.
Okay.
He's qualified.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's being a big help. But we jump on occasionally as well. So we're in there.
Yeah, we do. All right, thanks
James.
so much, guys. Thank you, Andy. I'll see you on the flip side.
Catch you next time.